Well, it was a tough loss against the Steelers. Watching it back on Hard Knocks, I actually felt a little bit better than the actual game. I think the producers there and the editors did a little bit better job of making the Browns look more competitive. But we are on to Kansas City, or at least the Chiefs are coming to Cleveland as part of a upcoming tough schedule that the Chiefs have upcoming here. Eric, uh, Browns, they have a chance. Chiefs coming in, trap game. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple games Saturday and Wednesday after this one, so it's a condensed schedule. This is the first half of it. They are 12-1, already clinched their division yet again. 6-1 in their last seven games. All of their six victories are by a touchdown or less. So, yeah, Browns are gonna have to find a way to not lose, which has been very difficult since returning to the league in 1999. Looking at the stats, Patrick Mahomes, still a great player, still the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks statistically in the league. However, his stats aren't necessarily reflecting that. 245 yards, about a touchdown and a half, and just under an interception a game, which sounds mediocre. But again, he's playing with a lot of talent and he's getting the most out of his team. So it's not going to have to be a track meet that the Browns are going to have to play to win this game. They're just gonna have to avoid stupid mistakes. And by releasing Kadarius Toney yesterday, that should help in that department. So we got that going for us. Um, Offensively, Isaiah Pacheco's missed most of their year. He's coming back off his injury. They worked him in last week. I expect a larger role. Xavier Worthy's the X factor for them, and then they have some of the veterans, Hopkins, Kelsey, we all know about. So it's going to be up to Jim Schwartz and the defense to limit these guys from having big plays. Kind of, and I don't even know their kicker situation. Bucker might be back for this one, but if we can force three instead of seven, I know that's a tall order, but the opportunities are there. Offensively, I would let Winston let it fly. I mean, again, like we've said many weeks, we got nothing to lose. And the only way that we have a chance to win in this game is by scoring a decent amount of points. I know they can too, but if we feel like we get in this low scoring rock fight of a game, it's not going to go our way. There's going to be a lot of turnovers, a lot of bad plays offensively. So that's what I would go with offensively. And then last but not least, I would like to have a running game, but obviously Ken Dorsey's offense is not going to be allowing that. The Chiefs have given up over 330 total yards in three of their last four games. So the opportunities are there. They have not been giving up a lot of points, so you have to make the most out of those opportunities. Going to be a challenge, but I think the Browns are going to play up as best as they can against this Chiefs team. Will it be enough? We'll find out when we make our picks.
We will find out. Drew, at least my eyes will be on Myles Garrett. For the Chiefs, eyes will be on Myles Garrett. GJ Humphreys, their left tackle, has been banged up. I'm going to go to a real.
He's not playing. Yeah.
He's not playing. Okay.
He's not playing this game. No.
Let me go to a quick clip here from Andy Reid talking about Myles Garrett.
I guess how much does that weigh maybe in a tackle decision, when you're trying to figure that out?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's really a good player, probably a future Hall of Famer, I'd say. He's a dominant player, and we recognize that and respect that. He's going to show up though, and we're going to show up, and we've got to play well against him, and we have the capability of doing that. That's how I feel. So we just got to.
I titled this section is "Will Myles spoil the Chiefs' hopes?" I wonder if you're missing your left tackle, you're going into Cleveland. This is a risky game for the Chiefs. If Myles will wreak havoc on their offense and wreak havoc potentially on Patrick Mahomes. I guess if you're the Chiefs, how much do you protect Mahomes in this game?
I think you have to double team Myles Garrett on every single snap. I'll go that far. Regardless of what else you want to do on any given play, it starts with two guys blocking him. However you break that up, you keep a blocking tight end in. You slide the guard, and the left tackle and the guard have to double team him. I don't know exactly how they want to do it, but they will double team him on every single play. So if I'm the Browns, you have to know that and recognize that and work around that. Use stunts, have Myles, mess with them, have him, move around pre-snap so that they can't, figure out exactly where he's coming from and what the slide and the protection is going to be. So that's how I would approach it. I imagine. I mean, Jim Schwartz knows a hell of a lot more about this than I do, so he has to understand that the Chiefs are man down at the left tackle position. So he probably doesn't want to move Myles around too much. He wants to take advantage of what is a very obvious mismatch. And Andy Reid's an excellent offensive coach. He has schemed up some of the best schemes that the league has seen the last 20 years, going all the way back to his time in Philadelphia. So I'm sure Andy has schematically some answers, but it's always going to be two men on Myles Garrett. So can he spoil their Super Bowl hopes? I mean, you hope nobody gets hurt, obviously, right? But he can, the Browns can absolutely win this game. The Chiefs are only 4-point favorites, and if they do, you start to open the door for some other team to sneak into that number one seed, which that could spoil their Super Bowl hopes for sure.
Maybe we'll see. As we started off here, the schedule is going to be tough for the Chiefs. This is a regular break going into this game for the Chiefs, so not so much catching up with them yet. So we might not be so lucky as to see Mahomes' play calling greatly affected to help protect him. We will see. But the other thing on the offensive side of the ball, just for our own sake here, I think it was helpful to see Jameis Winston in Hard Knocks, see his relationship with Kevin Stefanski. Jimmy Haslam recently came out as well of his support for Kevin Stefanski. Andrew Berry recently reported. So a lot of support around the building, but there still is this question of who is going to be the future at quarterback. Do we bring back Jameis next year? Should we give DTR some of these games at the end of the season? And then Deshaun is around. So Drew, let's go back to you here on this one. I guess how do you look at the rest of this season and thoughts for the future?
Deshaun Watson better not be around next season. And everything I'm hearing is that he will not be. They'll pay lip service to it being an open competition, and I think that is probably true. But there is no way this team can go into this season with Deshaun Watson on the roster. The fans hate him. He makes just an ungodly amount of money, and I understand there's salary cap ramifications when they designate him as a post June 1st salary cap cut for both 2025 and 2026. But with all that said, I think you can keep Jameis for a fairly decent team-friendly contract, at least for 1 year. And yeah, you have DTR, and then I would like to see them use a pick in the draft. And there are three. There's certainly 2 first-round quarterbacks, potentially 3. And I was looking at this the other day. The Browns remarkably sit in 8th place, where they sat 2 weeks ago, and they have done nothing but lose and have not gained any ground. It is remarkable how close things are at the top of this draft right now. But for those of you nerds who like to look ahead for these sorts of things, believe it or not, we're going to be rooting for against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who've only won 3 games. But if the Jaguars lose out, that means the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Jets and the Tennessee Titans all get that much coveted win. in which case, based on some of the strength of schedule stuff, the Browns would most likely be drafting ahead of those three teams. They would still lose out to the woeful New York Giants, who will probably end up with Shadur Sanders. But there's two other players that I'm pretty high on that I think have some potential and that would be an upgrade to what the Browns currently have on the roster. I'm not trying to damn them with faint praise, but I think Cam Ward and who I've chatted about a little bit on the podcast here, but the person I'm growing more and more interested in is Jalen Milroe from Alabama. A lot of people, most people have him behind Cam Ward for the top three spots. But Jalen Milroe is the superior athlete there. I think he has the stronger arm. I think he's quicker. I think he's more agile, more athletic. I think he does an excellent job of keeping his eyes downfield. And then there are some interesting, I use NFL Draft Buzz for some of this. There's a very wide delta in terms of player comps for Jalen Milroe. On the top end, you have Caleb Williams, and on the bottom end, you have Trey Lance. Now, how they can make those two players the same as a comparable, I'll have to see the math behind that. But I see a lot of upside there. And if you can keep Jameis around for next year, that means you can keep Jalen Milroe on the bench for the majority of that season to learn and grow. And then you might really have something, for the years ahead once Deshaun's salary cap stuff is finally off the books. So that's my plan right now for the Browns quarterback situation. Get rid of Deshaun Watson. Maybe you let DTR start a game or two here at the end, and you go into the 2025 season with Jameis Winston as your starter and DTR and Jalen Milroe battling it out for the backup quarterback spot.
All right, Eric, I'll ask you here in a second. Worst case scenario we're outlining here. So we say goodbye to Deshaun, and it's not guaranteed that Jameis is going to stay.
It's guaranteed.
Just say we're not at worst case scenario yet. You haven't gotten to that part yet. Go ahead.
So Jameis leaves. There's going to be some positions open for him to go. So we say goodbye to Deshaun. We say goodbye to, we don't want to say goodbye to Jameis. I think everyone would be happy to start a season with him. Not the perfect scenario, but better than most. What if we're starting the season with DTR and Milroe as our backup quarterback? How would the fans react?
I mean, I don't want to say it could always be worse, but we've seen worse. The financial constraints are really going to be interesting this year. I know Drew touched on the post June 1st cuts. Will we have enough funds remaining for Jameis Winston? I would have said maybe no a couple weeks ago, but all the interceptions might make it a little bit more feasible. But for argument's sake, let's just say we don't have the room right now. Other things that could happen that would make a worst case scenario is, for whatever reason, we can't afford some of our higher end guys, or I guess mediocre guys. We're going to keep Ward and Garrett, obviously, but some of the guys that we're not anticipating releasing. We would like to see JOK back. I mean, there's a lot of things that could not go our way. As far as the quarterbacks are concerned, DTR and a rookie, and they would have to pick up a third, whether that's like a retread, like a Kellen Mond or somebody who's very, very, very cheap. I mean, they can't even afford Sam Darnold at this rate, the way he's playing. So, I don't think there would be a lot of high hopes, expectations, but that kind of goes to what we discussed earlier, is like to get a little bit more of a look. DTR had a great win against the Steelers. That's awesome. I think they had 13 points. And he didn't look tremendous in the other couple games. I know he was on not a lot of notice, but I'd like to see what he can do in a little bit more reps at the end of the year. But right now he hasn't showed me that he's an everyday starter, and I don't think that's going out on a limb. So, I'm not ready to go back to the starter rookie day one camp, but, I guess it's just kind of figure it out. Hopefully the the coaching staff, front office knows what they're doing. Again, could be a big stretch, but I think everybody would be hesitant. But I think everybody would be a little bit happier knowing that number 4 is not on the team. So that's probably where the fan base would be.
Well, hopefully it's not the worst case scenario, and we got to enjoy what's ahead of us here. Hopefully a great game from Jameis Winston and a dominating performance from Myles Garrett. Let's go Browns. Let's see what you do against the Chiefs.